Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. We have just a couple of weeks left of e-learning, and then we'll be done for the year. We'll finally get to have summer, and so we're wrapping it up real quick. For this last 2 weeks of our class, we're going to be looking into the different planets in our solar system. And we've already answered this question somewhat: how did God design our world? But we're going to be answering some new questions over the next 2 weeks that are related to this. One of the questions that we'll try to answer is, what do the other planets look like? So as we're going to do a little flyby, we're going to see what each planet in our solar system is like, and we're going to look at some pictures of it, and we're going to see some details, and try to understand what those planets are like. And that'll help us answer this other question of, could we live on other planets? What would it be like to live on these other planets? So we need to know, why is Earth such a good home for us, and what do other planets have that make it difficult for us to live there, and what would we need to do if we wanted to go and live on other planets? So those are the kinds of questions we're going to be looking at, and in all of this we're going to see what God has revealed about himself through nature. By looking at all the different planets, we really get to see that God is a creative God. He makes new things, and he makes them unique, and he uses what's around to create these amazing planets. And it's just really incredible. We're going to see all kinds of different worlds, and just think about how amazing our Creator is, how creative he is. So today we're going to look at the first two planets in the solar system, and I think that is right here. Yeah. We're going to start by looking at the first four planets, actually, and learn what they're called. We're on page 86 of our book here, and so I've got the little online book for us pulled up here. But we've got the four terrestrial planets. That's the name of them. Terrestrial means kind of like made of rocks, or terrain is the word that you may have heard before. It deals with a solid surface. They've got a solid surface. It's got a rocky surface, and the first four planets in our solar system are all solid. They're all made up of rocky surface. Earth has water on it, obviously, but also has a rocky surface as well. And so these are the first four planets in order from the sun. Now, obviously, they're not all this close together, and they're not this close to the sun. They're not drawn to scale here, as it says, but these are the planets that we're going to be looking at. So today we're going to be starting with the first two, Mercury and Venus. So let me zoom into these pictures here. You can see Mercury is smaller, right? And Venus is about the same size as Earth, and that is accurate. Venus is just barely smaller than Earth. So let's see what our book has for us. I'm going to ask you to learn these pages yourself, but I just wanted to point out a few of the details. So make sure as you read that you're underlining. Right over here it says, as you read the text, underline the important characteristics of the planet Mercury. So you need to do that on this page and the next page. So underline anything that it tells you, just some kind of important characteristic or detail about Mercury. Anytime you see something, just underline it. Now, make sure you're not underlining every sentence, but just underline like the significant details and characteristics of the planet. So, what is it like? What does it look like? What are some descriptions of it? Underline those things. Over here, you've got a little table that gives you some data for Mercury. I know some of you guys say data. I say data. And it gives you like the distance from the sun and things like that. One thing that I want to point out to you is the astronomical unit. Okay, this is an important unit that we use to measure distance in space. Now, you guys know that you can measure distance in all kinds of ways. One of my favorite units of distance is the gummy worm, right? Because if I ask you how tall you are and you respond with, 5'2", that doesn't make sense to me. I would prefer that you say, "Oh, I'm 38 gummy worms tall." The way that you measure distance really depends on the units that you use, and we're going to use this unit for the next week or two, and it's called an astronomical unit. So astronomical means, related to the skies and space. But when we say astronomical unit, or sometimes we use the letters AU, we're talking about how far away it is from from the sun. What 1 AU is, 1 astronomical unit, equals the average distance between the sun and the Earth, or approximately 150 million kilometers. That's a lot, 93 million miles. So 1 astronomical unit is how far away the sun is from the Earth. That's 1 astronomical unit. So if we were talking about a planet that was 2 astronomical units away from the sun, that means it's twice as far away. And it says here Mercury orbits only 0.39 AU from the sun. Okay, that means that Mercury is about 39% away from the sun compared to the Earth. So it's about half as much. The Mercury lies nearly halfway between the sun and the Earth. If it was exactly halfway, it would be zero point 0.5 AU. So Mercury is a little bit closer to halfway between the Earth and the sun. So pay attention to that unit. You're going to see that unit a few times pop up. Mercury is a really cool planet. I just want to point out a couple of the details here. Remember, as you read, to notice the headings here. So Mercury has the most extreme temperature range in the solar system. Extreme means it goes from the hottest to the coldest. Extreme means both ways are extreme. So it gets really, really hot and really, really cold. And part of the reason for that is it's super close to the sun, so it gets really hot, but also it has no air, it has no atmosphere. And so the heat escapes from it at night. So that's an important thing to notice whenever you see things like the atmosphere. It's talking about the air on Mercury. There is no hardly any atmosphere at all. There's almost no air on Mercury. Another cool thing about Mercury is it has a large iron core. So I love this picture right here. You can see the core is the orange part here. Then you got the mantle and the crust. It's kind of like how Earth is laid out, but Mercury is different because its core is most of the planet. It's really interesting, and because its core is made up of iron, it has a magnetic field around it. All right. Let's look at Venus real quick here as well. So Venus has got some more details. It is 0.72 AU away from the sun. So it's a little bit further away than Mercury, but not quite as far as Earth. And Venus is very similar to Earth in size and mass. So as you read, I want you to underline these things here: prograde rotation and retrograde rotation. Underline the definitions there. It's basically talking about which way it spins. So Venus is a little bit different because it spins backwards compared to all the other planets. So it's kind of unique in that way. Venus is also really interesting because it's got craters and volcanoes, and the atmosphere of Venus is toxic. You can't breathe in the air on Venus. Remember how I told you that Venus has a lot of air, so much air that you could swim through it? Well, that air is not the same kind of air as Earth's air. Venus, the air on Venus is dangerous to breathe in. It would be deadly for you to breathe it in. So it's not a good place to go for that reason. So what I want you to do is to read all of this, answer the questions, and underline as you read as well. These are the 4 pages that you're going to be assigned today. And then after you read those pages and underline everything, you're going to take a timed quiz. And the quiz is timed because I want you to answer the quiz from your head, off the top of your head. I don't want you to go back and look at the book to try to answer the questions. I want you to answer them from what you remember reading about. So that means you need to take the time to read slow. There's a lot of paragraphs here, a lot of words, and I want you to read it slow and go and take your time. Learn the pages. Don't just read them. Examine the pictures. Underline, make notes as you read. Answer the questions. Do all of that. And once you've answered all the questions and read closely, I'm going to ask you some questions about the reading. And there might be some of these questions in the quiz on Canvas. So as long as you are reading it very closely and carefully and answering all the questions and underlining and all that stuff, as long as you're doing all that, the quiz should be very easy for you. You should get 100% on it. So just make sure you're taking your time before the quiz to read closely and answer the questions. And then after you've read everything and done all that, then you're ready to take the quiz. So if you have any questions or issues, let me know, and I'll try to answer quickly today. And we only have a couple days left, so So good luck with everything, and have a great day.